Hey, this is Brian. Thanks for watching Kies Motorsports. If you like our videos, give us a thumbs up. Make sure to subscribe and check us out at kiesmotorsports.com. Today, we're going to show you how to install an OEM BMW rear view camera in an M4 GTS. Now, this is the same M4 GTS that we built a couple weeks ago. We are back to do the rear camera, and as you remember, it has the frozen paint, which cannot be exposed to the oils in your skin. So whenever you're working on one of these cars, you always want to make sure that you have protective gloves, and also use special microfiber towels that are extra soft and do not have edges. Now, because we're going to be leaning over the rear bumper, we are going to make sure that everything is first well protected. So we're going to lay down these microfiber towels here. And then we have a fender guard that's going to go on over the towels. Now, because this is a 4 Series, you want to open up all of the doors before we disconnect the battery, because the window actually goes down and up as you open and close the door. So you want to make sure that you have the doors open before you disconnect the battery. Now, whenever you're working on any electrical components, you always want to start by disconnecting the negative terminal of the battery, which is located in the rear of the vehicle, right over here. So with a 10mm, just carefully remove this. Now, this car has a battery tender on it, so we need to remove the small nut first. Pull this off and press it down. Now that the battery is disconnected, let's begin by removing the old handle and installing the new one. Now, the cool thing about the new handle is it's the exact same shape and size, except over here where it's just blank, it has a camera, so you don't have to do any drilling. Everything is 100% plug and play. Now, the first part of this process is to remove these plastic arms. So to do this, you just carefully disengage these 2 clips over here, just like that. This will pull down, and then you can slide it out. And then once you've done that, set it in a safe place and do the exact same thing to the other side. Next, what we're going to do is we are going to remove the trunk carpeting. To do so, there are 6 of these Phillips head plastic fasteners over here. There's 2 metal screws, and then you have the emergency release handle, which to get this off, you just press out the middle, pull out the cable, and set that to the side. So at this time, let's remove these fasteners. Now, these are very easy to work with. All you need to do is just very carefully and lightly unthread them. And then once you get to a certain point, the entire thing will pop out, just like that. Then remove these 2 Phillips head screws. Carefully bend the carpeting out. Just swing it down. And you carefully lift it off over here. Lift it off over here. And rock it, set it in a safe place. Now what we need to do is we need to get the old handle out so that we can install the new one. So to do so, there are these little tabs. So what I'm going to do, it's going to be very difficult for you to see. I'm going to reach my hand up through this opening right here. I'm going to press on this tab, and then I'm going to slowly start to work the old handle out so that I can install the new one. There's a little cable over here, plugs in right there. All you need to do is disconnect that connection and pull it inside the car. Now, at this part of the process, we can take our new handle. It's going to snap right in. You're going to take the connection you removed from the old handle, you're going to plug it in here, and then we're going to have a connection that goes to the actual camera, but we're not going to hook that in just yet. Then once you press it in, it's going to look just like this, just like it came like that from the factory. Then if you haven't done so already, reach up and plug in that small connection. Now, this car has a little bit of a challenge coming up. So first off, it has fixed back seats. These are actually the M4 seats, the European style ones, which are amazing. The only problem is they're not very flexible and I have very little room to get back here. Then once I get back here, there's a roll cage. So it is a little bit of a challenge. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start by removing this piece of trim right here very carefully. Then I'm going to remove those back screws, and we're going to just see if we can pull this lower portion up to help us feed these wires. Next, we need to remove the fire extinguisher. So to do so, you pull up, and then this will be free. Take this out. Then what we can do is we can remove this holder right here. It's held in by 4 of these 8mm. Now I can't get to that back bolt, so I need to use a Torx bit here to remove these 2 screws. Okay, now that we have the fire extinguisher location off, we need to remove those 3 Torx bits so that we can get these plates out. Okay, now what we're going to do is we are going to remove the rear seat side bolstering, which is very tricky because there's not much space at all. But to do this, I'll put my camera down. What we're going to do is we're going to pull on the top, just like if we were working on even, you know, like an F30 3 Series. So what you do, reach through the cage, and you want to release that clip. Okay, I'm going to take this piece out here to make it a little bit easier to get to. And with that out, we can lift up this floorboard, and I think this is going to make our life a lot easier here. Now once you take up the floorboard, it's secured with this little grommet right here. So you just pop it back up, and then it should come right out. We'll do the exact same thing with the other side. I'll try to do it while holding the camera. Once again, just pop it up and then just wiggle it out. All right, at this point we have the lower portion of the seat, I guess the seat delete we'll call it, removed. So I'm going to carefully reach through this roll cage here and lift this up and pull it out. And wow, the first thing I notice is this thing is insanely light. It looks like it's just made of foam. All right, so we'll take this out, set it to the side. Then I'm gonna reach through and do the exact same thing on the other side. Carefully follow it along like that. I'll maneuver this out. And for those of you curious how the GTS roll cage is installed, it is actually a bolt-in. So for this next part, what we're going to do is we are going to remove all of this carpeting inside because we're going to have a wire that needs to route through the passenger side and also one through the driver's side. So at this time, take this bottom part out here, set this to the side, then we're going to remove these fasteners over here, pop the middle out, just like that, and then you pop out the bottom. At this part of the process, we're going to remove this side of the carpet so that we can route our cables. We're just going to route everything along the driver's side. Sometimes you can route one on the passenger and one on the driver, but after looking at the wires, I'll show you here. The one wire that we would be routing up the passenger side is just this little skinny wire, and it's very difficult to get through on the other side of the roll cage here. So what we're going to do is we're just going to follow the path of least resistance. It's going to get exact same thing accomplished, so might as well do it that way. With a T40, we're going to remove this little latch back here. Then there's a little push fastener over here. Once again, you remove the middle, and then you can remove the base. Once again, it looks just like that. And there's one up here by the shopping hook. Now what we're going to do is we're going to just swing this out. We're not actually going to fully remove it. Now, there is a little compartment over here. It's going to make it a lot easier if we remove that and just set that over here to the side. I'm going to pull up the weather stripping a little bit. This is already disconnected, but if it's not, all you need to do is just separate that. And then just you don't want to pull it too far because there is a connection behind the 12 volt there. And what we can do is just disconnect that so we get a little more play. Look at all that room. Now by doing this, you can see right there clear to the back seat. It's going to give us all of this access. So definitely the best way to do this is to fully remove the carpet. Now what you can do is take your video cable. It's going to look just like this, and you're going to reach up here and you're going to connect it into the camera. I'm just going to pull this out so you can see what's going to happen. But basically you just get this. It only goes in one way, and you just press it in until you hear the clip, and then you're good to go. So let's take this, we'll feed it up here. Then instead of zip ties, which can rattle, we are going to be using Tessa tape. Basically, it's just a fabric tape. And you'll notice that most wire looms already use Tessa or an equivalent. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut a piece about that big. I'm going to take our cable, and every couple inches, we're just going to tape it down. Now, when you're routing this wire, you always want to make sure that you leave plenty of slack to account for some motion of the trunk opening and closing. So what I like to do is I like to leave a little bit of slack, and then you can attach it here, and then we're going to attach it down low. But before you do that, you want to make sure that you test the trunk a couple times to see how much slack you're going to need. So now once you get to this point, you can take our wire here and you can feed it up to the back seat. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go onto the other side and I'm going to pull it through and then secure it. And again, we're going to come back and double check that we have the clearance we need to shut the trunk and have there be no extra stress on this line. Okay, at this point we have our video cable routed all the way to here. Now we need to carefully remove this piece of plastic trim. So to do so, just use your hands, carefully get under, and then you're going to start to lift up. Work your way across. Don't go too fast because you could crack the plastic, and that would not be good on this car. We'll take this off and set it to the side. So basically this is what these look like. Now typically what's going to happen is they're going to get stuck in the car, which all but one did. And then you're going to take them back out with a trim tool, and you slide them back in the channel, and then everything will pop right back in. All right, so as you would expect, we're going to take this video cable, open up the carpet, and we're going to secure it to those wires. Before we do so, we are going to remove this panel right here. So to do so, you will see that there is a Phillips head in here. It's amazing. Most of the cars Torx, and then for this they use a Phillips head here, and then they use another Phillips head underneath it. Okay, so we'll take that off, set it to the side, and then like I was saying, there's another one right over here. Okay, then what you do is you carefully lift this piece of plastic up over the carpet, just like that, and then you'll be able to just pop these plastic rivets out, and then there's one little connection up here for the trunk. So once you get this disconnected, you can remove that. Okay. Now with that loose, we can take our 10 millimeter, and there's a 10 millimeter nut over here, and there's one over here, and then this piece of trim, you just slide your hand across the top like that, and you slide it down, and this thing will pull right out. And there's typically just two connections, and just disconnect those, and then you can remove this from the car. And once you've done that, you can get to the top location like that and pull this out. Now what we're going to do is we are going to install the control module, which is included in the kit. Now the cool thing about that is it comes with this nice little holder. So we're going to install the holder, and then we'll do the control module, and then we'll keep wiring. So what you do with this, there's a little hook way up here. You take the bracket like this, go up here. Again, I know it's difficult for you to see because it's difficult for me to see. You get it, you just slide it down, and it'll clip into place just like that. And then, this is going to be very, very difficult to see. There's actually a screw that holds everything else in place. Now to get to the screw, you need to pull off this little tab, otherwise you're not going to be able to find the nut that the screw, that looks like this, is going to thread into. Okay, so reach up, and again, this is kind of by feel because of how tight it is up here. Okay, there we go, I got it. A little bit difficult to see, but that is what it looks like fully installed. Now that we have that installed, it is time to very carefully remove some of this protection here. We're going to just continue to route this wire all the way up, and then we're going to plug it in. So I'm just going to take this camera wire, I'm going to plug it in here, and then this slides up like this. And once you've done that, you push the left side through and then clip this side in, and it's locked in place, just like from the factory. Now what we're going to do is we're going to take our other wire harness, look for the connection that looks like this, and we're going to plug this right into that control module. Now what we're going to do is we are going to take the lone skinny wire, looks just like this. I'll show you what the end looks like. So it looks just like this, that's coming off of that wiring harness we just plugged into the control module. We're gonna run this the opposite direction all the way back to the trunk. So basically what you're gonna do is just leave some slack because there is plenty of wire, and we are going to tape it down to that wire that we followed, the whole wire loom that goes all the way back and through the trunk. So at this time, what we're gonna do, we're gonna take care of that, and then we'll meet you in the trunk. All right, and there you have it. There's our little wire that we need to get from the front to the back. And as you can see, we have about 5 feet of excess. So plenty of wire. What we're gonna do is we're gonna route our wire underneath here, and then I can start to push this back in. Now make sure that you reconnect your 12 volt or you won't have power back here. Okay, now what we need to do is we need to take that wire that we ran back here and we need to plug it into the back of this fuse box. So take a 10 millimeter and there's a plastic nut right here. And then the fuse box lifts up and slides off these little tabs. Now what you're going to do is take the plug that looks like this, and you'll notice that it is numbered. There's a little number 1 over here that you're probably not going to see, and also a number 6. So what you want to do is you want to take this wire and you want to slide it down here until you hear it clip into place. Then all you're going to do is you're going to take it and you're going to plug it in right here. That's a little bit difficult to get to and to see, but if you just pull the wires over like that, you just take this and slide it in. Take this, slide it in like that, press that down, then you can tighten this again. Now it's kind of funny because even though this didn't have the connection in the back, it still had the fuse, so we don't need to use the supplied fuse on this one, but typically you would need to put it in slot 6. So at this point, all you really need to do is tidy up this excess cable and we are done with the back. Okay, now what we need to do is we need to get these wires over here. We need to get a couple into the back of the head unit, and the other ones we need to get down there. So we're going to start by removing this piece of trim. We're going to pull out the head unit. We're going to put the wires in the harness and take it from there. So as always, make sure that you use microfiber towels to ensure everything is well protected. Okay, this just rocks down like that. We'll set this out of the way. And this just very carefully pops off like this. Just use your hand down here. Carefully pull those out. And then just disconnect the 2 connections behind here. Okay. This car is a little bit different because it's a GTS, but you have your main switch for your hazards and also your door locks. And then this one has another switch over here. On a regular like F30 or F32, it's more down low, but it's essentially the same thing, just 2 connections. Okay, now what we're going to do is we're going to remove the face plate. So to do this, we're going to just remove these T20s, and there are 4 of them. There are 2 up top and 2 in the bottom. Once you've done that, this will pull straight off, and there's 1 connection in the back. Once that's disconnected, you can set this in a safe place. Next, to remove the head unit, there are 2 Now, some of the cars will have 4. This car has 2. This is an NBT Evo in it. So we'll remove this. And the head unit will slide out just like that. And for this, what we need to do is we need to have access to the quad lock. So on this one, it rocks down. Some of them will rock up. Basically, there's this little bar. I'll show you this in 1 second after I pop it out. But the bar rocks back, unlocks it, and then you can have access. So as you can see, what I did is I just took this little bar, I rocked it back, and it's like a lever system, and I'll actually extract it from the back. Now what you can do is take the wire that looks like this, that has the 3 pins in it. This is going to get fed up through the bottom. Then once you have that through, what we're going to do is we're going to take the other wires, and I'm just going to tape these to this wire since it's already through, just to use it as a wire feeder. And then once we get the wiring done, we'll go through, we'll make sure that all the wires are completely out of the way of everything else and that they're all in good locations. Now with these wires, there are 3. You're going to see white, you're going to see red, and then clear. So in the instructions, the WS is white, the RT is red, and where it says, all right, so when you look at the quad lock, all of the pin locations are identified right on the bottom. What you want to do, it's going to be very difficult to see, partially because these seats are very difficult to get out of, so it's hard to reposition the camera, but basically there's this little blue lock. You slide that out like that. And we're going to take our white wire and go into pin 24, which is the second from the end on the bottom here. So basically all you do with this is you just get the pin and you just slide it in and it'll clip into place. The clear one is going to go into pin 23, which is the end. That's a pretty easy one. And the last one is going to go in pin 21. Okay, and when you're doing this, always push the little bar down and then do it, because what happens is if you have this up and you run the pins in, it's not, you're going to hit the wire when you actually fold it down. So since that's done, we're going to plug this back into the head unit. And we're done with that. Rock it in, we're good to go. I'm going to take some of the slack here. Just going to leave it just like that for a moment. And then what we're going to do is we're going to route these wires through here, out the side, and down there. So let's get started on that. Okay, so over here what we're going to do, we're going to bend this down, and then we're going to push back here while lifting up over here. Just going to give us a little area that we can grab onto. And that'll pop up. And then you can just slide this down, pop it out like that. Now the good thing about this area is it's pretty big, so you could probably reach your hand in here. If not, you may need to use a wire feeder, but I think we'll be okay. And then what we need to do is pop this trim, just like we did on the other side. Then we're going to release the two 10 millimeters underneath here. And just like the other side, this is going to come down just like that. Only has one connection. Slide this out. And this piece, I like to lift it up over the carpet before popping it out. Okay, just like that. Next, what we need to do over here, there is a black connector. You push this little tab, and then you lift up on the white, and this is going to come out. little bit tight, but you should be able to get it. Next, there are these little tabs over here that keep this in place. So all you need to do is just, you use your nail or a pick tool, and you just spread those out. And then what you'll be able to do is slide that off just like that. All right, so now what we're gonna do is you're gonna take the orange wire of the CAN connection here. We're gonna run it to pin 52. So once again, if you just look at the pins, it'll say on it. So this one is 1 to 18, so that's not it. Okay, on this side, here we go. Here's 54. So once again, this is going to pin 52. So, all right, so it is this wire right here. So what we need to do is we need to pull back some of this wire loom. We're gonna take one of these BMW connections, one of these wire taps from BMW. We're gonna stick it here. We're gonna stick our wire that we wanna tap into it over here. And then you crush it. So you can either use pliers or you can actually just use your hand. And then that'll be good. And the other wire here, the green wire, is gonna get tapped to 51, which is right next to it. They're actually twisted together. So it's, once you find one, you pretty much found them both. And once you've done that, you can take this part there and you can reinstall it. So to reinstall it, you just press it into place, pull that little white lever down, and you're good to go. Now the only other thing you need to do is just find a wire to ground this out. Typically there's one up here. It's a little bit difficult to see, so I'm just gonna ground it. I mean, honestly, you could actually just ground it right here if you wanted. So let's ground this, and then we are completely done with the installation. We just need to code it, and we'll be good to go. All right, at this point in the process, the installation is pretty much complete. Now we're just having BimmerTech do some remote coding for us to activate the camera, and then we'll show you what it looks like. All right, at this point in the process, the coding and everything is complete, and as you can see, the car is all back together. It looks great. Let's jump in and test it out. All right, so we put the car in reverse. Check out that picture. So we put a touch screen here, but this is basically what it looked like before. And now that we have the camera, check that out. So here's a look at the camera. And as we said before, it looks like it came like that from the factory, partially because it's BMW. We found a couple other cool cars in the garage, so we'll just give you some quick shots and maybe come back another day and show you a little bit more. Over here we have an Alpina Z8 with fully forged wheels. Then over here we have an M6 with a not so standard motor in here. But we're gonna save some of these other cars for another day. At this point in the process, everything is tested, everything is back together, everything is working great, and it's definitely a great addition, especially for this M4 GTS. So once again, my name is Brian. Thanks for watching Kies Motorsports. If you like our videos, give us a thumbs up. Make sure to subscribe and check us out at kiesmotorsports.com. Thanks for watching and have a great day.